very first one, garbage. It was trash. And I just seen this big old dude, huge this away, right? And I'm looking, and when he passed me, he was even bigger this way. I'm like, what the f? And I looked down, he had these big shoes on, and they was flopping. I said, damn, that's the dude from YouTube.
What happens when a man who built his entire life around strength, power, and dominance suddenly falls? When Rich Piana, the bodybuilding titan, was found unresponsive in his home, the world watched in disbelief. He wasn't just a bodybuilder, he was an icon, a man who became larger than life not only because of his strength, but also because of his tireless greatness, honesty, and confidence. So what really happened to Rich Piana? Let's look into the complete story. Rich Piana was more than just a bodybuilder. He was a force to be reckoned with in the fitness industry. He wasn't afraid to speak his mind, to challenge the norms, and to admit the secrets others wouldn't dare share. He made millions with his bold approach to bodybuilding, giving fans a glimpse into a world that most could only dream of. Rich wasn't just known for his physique. He was a larger-than-life character, known for his unapologetic openness about the use of performance-enhancing drugs. He wasn't just a man with muscles, he was a man with a message. But what happens when that message becomes a warning? What happens when the very thing that helped him rise to the top becomes the thing that brings him down? Rich's rise to fame was meteoric. His Instagram, YouTube videos, and public persona drew millions of followers. He created an empire based on his sheer size and strength. And with every flex, every post, every time he took off his shirt to show the world his massive muscles, he became a symbol of what it meant to push the limits of human potential. He wasn't just a bodybuilder, he was an inspiration to those who wanted to break boundaries, to be the best version of themselves, to live unapologetically. But it was all a balancing act. Behind the glamour, the selfies, and the sponsored posts, a much darker reality was unfolding. It's a reality that many in the bodybuilding community knew but few spoke about: the price of perfection. The long hours in the gym, the grueling routines, the obsession with being bigger, stronger, faster. And the drugs. The steroids, the growth hormones, the substances that were the secret to his success, but the very things that might have led to his downfall. Rich Piana's success didn't happen overnight. It wasn't just about lifting weights and getting bigger, it was about a relentless pursuit of something more. He understood that in the world of bodybuilding, it wasn't just about strength, it was about appearance. Being the strongest wasn't enough. You had to look the part. The aesthetic ideal was the goal, and Rich knew how to achieve it. From an early age, he was obsessed with getting bigger. He started lifting weights at just 11 years old. By 18, he had already built a body that could rival professional bodybuilders. But this wasn't enough for Rich. To stand out in a sea of muscle-bound athletes, he had to be bigger, more massive, and more eye-catching than anyone else. And so began his journey into the world of performance-enhancing drugs. Steroids, growth hormones. They weren't just part of the culture, they were the culture. If you wanted to get ahead, you had to use them. But for Rich, it wasn't about doing it secretly. It was about being open, about speaking out and letting people know exactly what it took to get that big. This approach, while controversial, worked. It wasn't just about getting big, it was about getting noticed. And Rich did just that. He grew his social media following into millions, signing sponsorship deals, starting his supplement line, and becoming a household name. He was living the dream that so many others aspired to. But behind the scenes, things weren't as perfect as they seemed. While the muscles were growing, the toll on his body was escalating. The steroids, the constant pressure to be bigger, to be the best, were slowly starting to take their toll. But he didn't stop. He doubled down. He became addicted to the idea of being the biggest. His body wasn't just his career, it was his identity. But not always life goes smooth sailing. With all the glamour, glitz, show-offs, the darkness was under the curtains, which came out. As the years went by, cracks began to show. While Rich was dominating the fitness world, his personal life started to unravel. His openness about drug use, while refreshing to some, began to raise eyebrows. The same people who once admired his honesty began to question the cost of it all. His relationships were strained. His health, which he often ignored in favour of building the perfect physique, began to deteriorate. He had multiple surgeries. His liver, his heart, his joints. He was constantly battling injuries, pushing his body to the breaking point. But Rich wasn't about to stop. Not when he was on top. Not when he was living the dream. But not everything in life goes smoothly, and no matter how strong you are, sometimes life finds a way to remind you that nothing lasts forever. The darkness that had been hiding behind the curtain for so long was about to emerge, and when it did, it would change everything. The news came on August 7th, 2017. Rich Piana, the man who had dominated the bodybuilding world for years, was found unresponsive at his home. His girlfriend, Chanel Jansen, discovered him collapsed. He had suffered a heart attack. Despite being rushed to the hospital, Rich was placed in a medically induced coma. 2 weeks later, on August 25th, 2017, Rich Piana passed away. The reaction from the public was nothing short of shock. Fans, friends, and fellow bodybuilders were left in disbelief. How could someone so strong, so confident, so invincible be taken so suddenly? And as the news spread, so did the questions. What caused his death? Was it the steroids? Was it his heart, weakened by years of extreme use? Could his addiction to size and strength have led him down this path? People quickly blamed the substances that had fueled his rise to the top: steroids, growth hormones, drugs. Rich's death served as a stark reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows of bodybuilding. It wasn't just about lifting weights or pushing limits. It was about the dark side of a culture that prizes size above all else. The drugs, the long hours in the gym, the pressures of being perfect, they had finally taken their toll. And yet, even in death, Rich remained a figure of controversy. Some mourned his passing, others blamed his lifestyle. His death left the fitness world questioning everything. Was it worth it? Was the price of perfection too high? Como que no más? In the aftermath of Rich Piana's death, his legacy became a polarizing topic within the bodybuilding world and beyond. On one hand, his open admissions about steroid use, his candid discussions about the pressures of the fitness industry, and his relentless approach to self-improvement earned him both admiration and controversy. Fans appreciated his raw honesty and his refusal to hide behind the facade that many other bodybuilders maintained. He was unapologetic, willing to speak out about the dark side of bodybuilding and the extremes athletes often take to reach the top. However, Piana's sudden death also sparked heated debates about the ethics of performance-enhancing drugs, PEDs, in bodybuilding. Some argued that he was merely a product of a culture that glorified extreme body standards, a culture that prizes size and strength above all else. For them, Rich wasn't a victim. He was a willing participant in a dangerous game. Others, however, saw his death as a cautionary tale. They argued that Piana's use of steroids, while not unique in bodybuilding, had led to a tragic consequence, an early death from the very lifestyle he had chosen to live so openly. As word of Piana's passing spread, many questioned whether steroid use was the direct cause of his death. Piana had long been open about his steroid regimen and was known for pushing his body to the limit with the use of drugs, human growth hormone, HGH, and other substances. It was an unconfirmed controversy. His heart attack, which led to his coma and eventual death, became a stark reminder of the hidden dangers of the sport. While there's no official confirmation that steroids directly caused his heart attack, the speculation was enough to reopen conversations about the deadly consequences of abusing performance enhancers. This sparked comparisons to other notable steroid-related victims. In the bodybuilding community, such as those of bodybuilders like Dallas McCarver and Ashley Gearhart, whose untimely deaths were also attributed to steroid use or related complications. Piana's passing also drew attention to the personal tolls of living in a hyper-competitive, image-driven world. It wasn't just about lifting heavier weights. It was about maintaining the perfect physique at all costs. This obsession led to years of surgeries, injuries, and an ongoing battle to keep up with an ever-evolving, never-satisfied fitness culture. The public reaction was a mix of shock, sadness, and for some, a sense of inevitability. Rich's life had become a symbol of the price many are willing to pay for success, in an industry that often turns a blind eye to the harm that comes with chasing the ultimate physique. In the years following his death, Rich Piana's life continued to resonate. His struggles, both personal and professional, reflected a much larger issue: the intense pressures that athletes face to achieve physical perfection, no matter the cost. He wasn't just a bodybuilder, he was a reflection of a larger issue within the fitness industry. A system that rewards extremism and a relentless pursuit of an ideal body that may very well come at the expense of one's health and well-being. For many, Piana's death remains a powerful reminder of the dangers of excess, a cautionary tale that warns of the high cost of chasing perfection. The pursuit of size, strength, and status in the world of bodybuilding can quickly turn toxic, leading to personal destruction. For Rich Piana, that pursuit ultimately cost him his life, leaving behind a legacy that forces the bodybuilding community to reckon with its dark side. While Rich Piana's life was filled with strength, controversy, and a relentless pursuit of greatness, there were still unanswered questions about his death. Was there more to his passing than the world knows? Could there have been external factors, threats, personal conflicts, or deeper struggles that contributed to his downfall? Before his death, Piana hinted at darker forces surrounding him, even claiming in some of his last interviews that he feared for his life. He spoke openly about receiving threats, people who were out to see him fail, and the intense pressure to maintain his image in an unforgiving industry. But were these just words, or did something far more sinister lie beneath? And what about the rumours? Was there more to his relationship with PEDs than we were ever told? Did his sudden death really stem from the drugs he openly used? Or could there have been another factor at play, one that Rich might have been trying to warn us about before it was too late? These questions remain unanswered. The mystery of Rich Piana's death is still fresh in the minds of his fans, but the truth about his life, the choices he made, and the darker secrets surrounding him might not be as simple as they seem. Could the dark side of the bodybuilding world have played a larger role in his demise? And who, if anyone, might have been responsible for pushing Rich beyond his limits? The answers to these questions, and more, will shock you. Stay tuned for the next video, where we will go deeper into the lives of other bodybuilders.